Everybody, welcome to 372 Pages We'll Never Get Back. I am Connor Listoka, and this is our second to last Trucking Through Time episode. We have trucked backwards in time, and we're still waiting for them to get back to their truck, as a matter of fact. We have 50 pages left in the book, and we don't know what our two truckers are still going to accomplish or how they're going to make it back to their beloved early 2000s in Atlanta, Georgia. But we're going to figure that out. Joining me is Mike Nelson, as always. Mike, what do you think about our truckers' predicament? Are they going to be able to truck back through time?
Oh, there's been so much science involved, it's hard to say. The professor who sent them back in time, who is building the giant machine that has the transference matter mechanism, boy, I hope they get the part for that so they can get back.
Yeah, there's
nothing. There's first of all, very little trucking for our money.
Yes.
I mean, 10-4 is referenced, and of course, the trucker's famous phrase, "Damn it, boy," has been referenced. But as far as trucking itself, not nearly enough for me.
Yes. Yeah, this is not necessarily one of those hard sci-fi books where you get 3 pages about theoretical physics and how that applies to wormholes, like Interstellar or the Three-Body Problem. No, you just have some truckers who are back in time, remarkably chill about that fact, as well as the fact that they take it for granted because the Great Spirit told them in the sky that they would make it back, that they're going to, at some point in time, beat the treason charges that they're facing and be home in Miss Marie's tender embrace.
I agree with you, Connor. And I'll just explain for those who may be joining us for the first time, who their head is spinning and they haven't even read the book. This is the podcast where we read through books. Connor Listoka and I, Michael J. Nelson, are associates together over at Riff Tracks, and we're reading through bad books. We've read a lot of good stuff. As was pointed out, I forgot that we had read the William Shatner book, and I look back on that with fondness now, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's been revisionists have started to deem that the possibly the best book we've read.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I'm not just agreeing with you because you're a Chad and Dale type agreement. I mean a real one. I agree that it is the best. Anyway, so we're doing Charles E. Harris's self-published book, Truckin' Through Time. A little update on, or a little bringing you up to date on that. Chad and Dale, truckers who truck together from Atlanta. They head north and then they head west. To head out to the Bay Area.
Yes.
But they are waylaid by a mysterious happenstance where they are brought back into the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th century. They don't know. We will solve that in these chapters, I believe.
Kind of.
A little. Kind.
Yeah, you said they went north and then they went west. I guess what you meant to say was that they went I-20 west, I-59 north, I-24 west, I-55 north, I-70 west across Missouri to I-435 north, to I-29 north to Highway 6 west to Lincoln and pick up I-80 to Ogallala.
Where do you have that? Do you have that written on your collar?
I realized it was pretty early on in the book, so you just flipped to the solid page of just interstate highway names.
When we were talking about having people listen to our sketches who have no knowledge of what's going on, that was one of the things I played the sketch about that to someone, and they went, "I don't," and then I handed them the book with that page open to it, and they started reading. Oh, okay. And they did laugh a lot at that.
Yeah, I've seen that referenced in rules of comedy. People are like, obey the rule of 3. Don't punch down it. They also say when you're making friends and loved ones listen to comedy that pretty much hinges entirely on wildly obscure references to expose them to the reference material after they've done, squinting in dismay and sort of squirming nervously once you've showed the actual comedy to them.
Yeah, I don't know that meme. Hang on, let us talk about that meme for 30 minutes, and then after it's over, we'll show you that meme.
Yes.
Okay, now I get it. Yeah, I do things in reverse order. Anyway, we have all our departments today, right?
We do. We've got fanfic, the last time to do Trucking Through Time fanfic. Yeah. We've got emails. People have written in their confusion and dismay about the book, and we have dumb sentences of the week as we have 50 more pages left in the book. So we're going to do this for the second to last time for this book, and maybe by the end of this chapter, we'll have an inkling about how they are getting home, how they're planning on wrapping this thing up in the next 50 pages. We will not. None of that is any clearer after these 50 pages than it was at the beginning.
That's right. Though stuff sort of happens. I mean, a lot of stuff happens. Just to bring you up to date, they had just seen God.
Yep.
They'd had a vision.
Mm-hmm. God appeared in the form of an eagle. The Great Spirit told them that they're gonna have a big impact in history, and that they will be reunited again with the two women they've fallen in love with since going back in time. So he pretty much dispelled any chance of there being tension with these assurances that everything's going to be just fine for our heroes.
Can we get a tarp and bungee strap? I'm sorry, what is the bungee strap? What do they call them?
Fuzzies.
Fuzzies are the what's
flares.
their name?
Oh.
No, or does he? No, he just misspells bungee
yes,
straps.
Bungies.
So sorry, everyone. We're so far away from bungee straps. I forgot the lore of them. They're the only things they say correctly, but they spell them incorrectly. But fuzzies and tarps. We're long past that.
Well, mentioning the misspellings made me sort of realize that, like, towards the back of this book, you get the sense that Charles E. Harris may have had his eyes on the prize, so to speak, because it seems like it gets a little sloppier towards the back third. Like he was sort of
sloppier. I'm seething with anger at Mr. Charles E. Harris.
He was at his computer and like he heard his buddies outside turning on the game and firing up the grill, and he was like, God, kickoff's in an hour and I've got to finish this damn book. So he just started banging his keyboard, and massive typos be damned in this final section.
Guys, I'm on the thing with the dancing leaf. It's very important. Oh, those are bratwurst? Oh, God. Carl bought he soaks them in beer for 4 days. They're so damn good. He puts onions in with the beer. Oh, God. Forget it. Dancing leaf. Here you go.
Let me just misspell a word no one has ever misspelled before, because it's pretty easy, and I'll be right there.
All right, so let's dive in.
Yeah,
Chapters 15 and 16 are the subject of this podcast.
Yes.
So, Connor, kick it off.
Well, we start off with this is sort of like one of those. It's like a movie from the 60s, like Ed Wood, where they clearly had the main characters who are at home, and then you have like the two like military guys who are in this crappy office, and you cut between those two scenes. So we are doing that. We are cutting between the Sioux camp, and we're cutting between the fort where the captain and the general have meetings about the two truckers. So we start off in scene 2 inside the fort, where the captain is about to finally speak to the general. He has received word that his family had arrived in Green River by a messenger, and he immediately went to the general's office to ask permission to go and receive his wife and children. So I'm sure, as you were, anticipating a warm, compassionate response from the general. He probably has a little bit of candy to give to his children, and just give your wife a kiss for me type of thing. He's furious, and he delivers some sort of sarcastic punishment in the form of this speech to the captain. He says, "I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but your being away from this fort at this time doesn't fit into the immediate plans." So he sort of is retaliating to the captain by not letting him go see his wife and kids, because the captain has been delivering wild card advice like, don't execute two guys you've never met for treason.
Yeah, I was very much hoping for a Ben Gazzara type. Come in, have a seat, get you a drink, some breakfast. No, please, let me fry you an look, you son of a... But we didn't even get that.
Yeah.
He disappoints.
Yeah. I thought he might be like, it turns out that the general is, the godfather of one of the children. So he's a little more, it's what pierces his icy heart, but he remains angry and icy all the way through. At some point, this was a weird thing that had happened before. The captain sort of starts even referring to him in a one-on-one conversation as like a third person.
Yes, I was baffled. I had to go back, as I did often in this chapter,
to find out who was talking.
Who was talking to whom?
Yes,
because again, in this, there are giant blocks of text, no physical descriptions between them, and only the person is identified after the paragraph of speech.
It is a Charles E. Harris trademark that is relentlessly confusing. But yeah, so when he starts talking to him, and he's like, he has this whole conversation. The general tells him it's not in the plans. And then the captain is saying, does this mean, sir, that I am not permitted to see my family before the general completes his plan of attack? Or am I to assume that the general is displeased that I want to negotiate peacefully with the Indians? So he's like Bo Jackson all of a sudden, that people are giving him that in the form of respect. I don't think it happens again, and it certainly did not happen before this. So.
Well, right after that, here comes this thing. So he says at the end of this little blocks of text, very well, sir, I'll be in my quarters, blah, 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 the captain said. And then quotes again, I'll write Christina a letter and send it by the courier that brings the mail in at 1800. I will have plenty of time. He thought. Damn you, Charles E. Harris.
Right.
No separation between those two.
Yeah, right. You know, the clumsy thing of like, you know, he closed the door behind him and started to, you know, plan his next steps out in his head is too much for Charles. But then again, you know, it was probably a bowl game happening at this very moment, so he was a bit distracted.
At his desk with, like you say, one leg is outside of the desk, you know, the chair. Like he's sort of, the shoulder is leaning toward the back deck where people are grilling. Yep. You can sense it through this whole section.
Right. Yeah. His friends are like, every time he comes into the room to sort of ask what's going on, they're like, stop pretending. Like, this is not an efficient way to do it. Walking back and forth from your office to the living room to do this. Like, watch the game for 3 hours, then go back and finish, because you're not going to gear up to be writing in between these commercial breaks.
Oh, this is the kind of writing you get when one does write during commercial breaks, however. There was a funny, it just made me laugh. Like, again, typos, I don't love making fun of typos.
Sure.
Because it happens and it's fine. Right. But this one just cracked me up. It's like those, remember that it was a short-lived blog that made us laugh of when people panic and put quotes around things on signs.
Oh, yeah, unnecessary quotations.
I do love, I don't know why that one makes me laugh, because it's just like they know that some punctuation is needed, and so they'll put it in.
Right.
And there's a sentence, the news that Chad and Dale had actually seen the vision traveled through the village quickly, is the sentence. But after the word vision, he panicked and put a comma. Chad had actually seen the vision, traveled through the village quickly. It's like, it must need something, right? Sentences have stuff in them, so here's a thing.
Right. It's a weighty vision. They literally saw the face of God, so he's just affording that the proper respect by putting in random pauses every time that it's mentioned.
Sure. And they are informed that the chief had a feast planned for them in their honor that was to take place at sunset. I just thought, oh my God, what was on the menu? Knowing what had been cooked earlier that day.
This what do you call this charred item? That's I mean, it's you know, you could tell it was chewy once upon a time, but it's been
a bit gristly,
burnt. Well, yeah. So yeah, we, for anyone who didn't listen last week, we had a guy tied to the torture pole, and then they cut off his wiener. So that is what happened to the evil guy Patch Wilson. So the characters got over seeing this man scalped, tortured, and beaten, tied to a pole very quickly though, and they're still hanging out and going to feast with the kind-hearted Sioux. But they're also trying to figure out sort of how to get ahead of the general's plans, because they know that the general is trying to figure out their identities, and they decide to make a point of sending a message to the War Department and also to Congress. And so I just said, like, if I asked you to do this today, if I was like, you need to send a message to the War Department of the United States and also to Congress, you would have absolutely no idea how to get a message like that to anybody, let alone if you were on the frontier in Wyoming, not from there, and then needed to find a place where you could send like a telegraph. And then when they asked you where the telegraph was going, you would say Congress and the War Department. It just doesn't seem like a very feasible goal for this era.
I think that they would get back if they even spent the money, they would send them a telegraph back like, which district are you in? Like, oh, damn it.
Right.
I don't know. I've occasionally tried to, you send a message to a different congressman and you try to make up an address that gets through. Like, no, I'm not going to do that much research. I don't care. Forget it.
I am on Main Street in the Wyoming Territory.
to the War Department.
So yeah, but that's their plan. As we talked about before, their plan was to say, like, we were born at home and our parents never got around to, telling the government we were born. So that's what they're going to tell when they finally do get through to the War Department. But then their other effort they're going to is that they want to find some cowboy hats.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
So we had this talked about when they went into a Wyoming diner, the place where all the menus have stories written on the back of them, and they were sort of they felt a bit off because once they sort of crossed the Mississippi River, they realized they were the only guys not wearing cowboy hats. So they have gone now into the Sioux Village in the 1840s, and Chad asked if it were possible to find cowboy hats for the trip to Green River because they wanted to look like every other cowboy and not bring attention to themselves. Surprisingly enough, Red Coyote brought several hats for them to try on. It is indeed surprising.
They had a hat party. They had someone come walking out of the dressing room, and I'm Walking on Sunshine playing, and he shook his head like, no, not that hat. I likened it to this, like, hey, I'm headed to the Catholic section of Belfast tomorrow. I wonder if you Protestants had some crucifixes I could borrow. Maybe a nun's habit in case we want to make things, kind of wacky. Like, oh, sure, here, I have a couple for you to try on. Sure.
And so they've got these string of hats from white men, and they, within 24 hours, have seen what happens in this camp. And so, but they're just, so they're trying on hats as the montage music plays, not even questioning like, oh, so these guys all must have had their wangs chopped off as well for you to get these hats. Like, there's no other reason to.
When the hats fit them, nothing macabre comes to mind either.
Right.
Like, oh, they fit.
Right.
Well, I when I meet this guy, I'll have to thank him. Like, oh, wait a minute.
Right. These were the last guys that turned down Dancing Fern and Little Creek or whatever their names are.
Right.
the last person who spurned them, they got this treatment.
So they make their plans. They're going to write these things up, and there's a lot of talk about how they're going to communicate everything to the War Department and Congress coming up. So stay tuned for that. But they decide they need to sleep first, and they say, "You are probably right." Surprisingly, they agree with one another. A good night's sleep will help clear our minds from all that's happened today. Dale noted. So they're doing the two guys at a sleepover thing. Like, boy, what a day. Well, let's get some sleep, huh? Like, hey, Chad, do you remember when we met God earlier today? Go to sleep, Dale. God.
Right. My dad's going to hear us. Wild Eyes walks in and they pretend they're snoring.
Yeah, completely nonplussed about, and still no talk. Like, we're back in time, right? They have no idea that they want to solve that or anything. And, meeting God was just that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've all had exciting moments happen. Like, I mean, you've been to like some, you were at the 7th game of the World Series. Like, I had that fun Sketchfest show this January where you sort of leave this moment and you're like, I am feeling really good. I am like riding high. I'm not going to be able to sleep at all tonight. They just met God, and they're doing this thing where it's sort of just like, well, I guess let's see what tomorrow has in store. It's a brand new day. Like,
yeah. Any thoughts about the day? Hey, come on, man. Let's just shake it off, get some sleep, have a nice breakfast, a little bit of elk. Maybe I think some leftover peni. I don't know.
I think you might be able to tell though that it has thrown them for a bit of a loop because we get this exchange as they are sort of drifting off, talking about their plan. What do you think, partner? I think this is. Dale talking. What do you think, partner? Should we just state the fact that the general is a bigot or just a damned idiot that needs to be relieved of command before he has this whole territory unsafe for anyone red or white? Chad's response? I really don't know, Dale. We should probably sleep on it. So it's thrown him for such a loop. He needs Dale to just suggest one of those options so then Chad can agree with it. Because if he's providing him with things to decide between, that is not going to work out well for either of these two.
Bigot or idiot?
Yes.
Bigot or idiot?
Right. Dale,
I met God today. Oh, get out of my mind,
Right.
stupid, silly thoughts.
Dale, pick one so I can just say, please. But
Well, then it comes to, I think this is, I know you will, everything sounds like hyperbole now. One of the most amazing sections of the book. when the discussion of whether or not Little Feather, no, what's her name?
yeah, Light Feather.
Light Feather can stay with Chad.
Yes. So yeah, speaking
Is
of freshman boys at a sleepover, like
Astonishing. There's so much to unpack
right,
here.
and so it builds on this. So we got to address it now because you later do get the you later do get some of these details. But yeah, he says, Big Bear, would you mind if I stay with Fast Cat here tonight? It may be the last time for a while, and I do not want to be away from him. Of course you may stay, Dale said with a laugh. Just keep the noise to a minimum. You haven't told me about your night across the river yet. And then Chad says, some things are best not said, partner. So, like, it's either one, he's being a gentleman, or two, things like got real out of control across the river. Right. He's just like, and he's still like aghast at what Light Feather was into. So he's trying to hold off on the details.
But also being coy after the fact, like, hey, you mind if I just, slam my woman here? Like, of course. Absolutely. What, yes?
Right.
Why are you even asking me? Hey, by the way, what happened the other night? Did you get lucky? Like, what is this weird being coy after you're already in the middle of this weird, bizarre sex thing going on?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he just is unaware. He's just he has sex object permanence, so he can only remember that this happened when it's like on the forefront, about to happen yet again.
So the two guys who, as we mentioned, have met God today, they continue, will be very quiet so you can get your beauty sleep. You need a little more beauty rest than that handsome fellow than handsome fellows like me anyway, Chad said with a chuckle. So that was worth a chuckle.
Yeah, Chad, is about to get down and dirty, so he can feel free to toss these little insults Dale's way.
Is that a thing you say, though, so you can get your beauty sleep? And then, like, he thinks it's so good that he doubles down. You need a little more beauty rest than...
Right. Yeah, Chad is just like, when is he going to stop talking so we can actually get to this?
And then Dancing Leaf smiled at Light Feather and looked at Dale with a look he knew all too well and laughed.
Yes.
Now, this is my frustration in the second half of this. Dancing Leaf smiled at Light Feather. Got it. And looked, so Dancing Leaf looked at Dale with a look he knew all too well.
Okay, so
Dale
knew the look.
And left. So, anyway, that's just the first of many. I won't dwell on that one.
Sure, but yeah.
One of the least egregious of these horrible constructions.
Yeah, it gets the clauses and the who is doing what very mixed up throughout the rest of this book. But yeah, when she leaves, Chad says, he says, "Damn it, boy," because of course he does. But he says, "Damn it, boy," Chad said, knowing the torment they were both going through. Dale just
Who's the they?
They is Dale and Dancing Leaf.
Why are they going through torment? He just gave him 2 beauty rest lines in a row.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what's tormenting him is that beauty rest dig. The torment, I suppose, is that he's not cheating on his beloved wife with a woman he met 48 hours ago. I don't know if that's really, digging his insides out at this point in time, but it must be sort of like mildly annoying if you're really like that unattached to your wife.
But then this is the most confusing sentence so far in this. Right after that, "Damn it, boy," Chad said, knowing the torment they were both going through. Dale just looked at Chad, shook his head, and lay down to sleep. What?
They convey a lot with these looks they give each other. That's the trucker's code.
But they're still, so they haven't left, so they're still in the same tent, right?
Oh yeah, they're on those soft buffalo skins.
And so Light Feather says, "It is unfortunate for them, Fast Cat. It seems so unfair." and so Dale just going like, "I am right here. Right. I don't know." Right.
I thought that keeping it down was like keeping the noise to a minimum was our only condition here. That applies to banal conversation as well.
So anyway, I guess it just happens then. They just go at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Dale and his torment is, because of Miss Marie.
Yeah, he's just got his hands over his ears and he's humming, the sentence begins with a capital letter song to try to keep his mind off of it. Lamb chop song that doesn't end.
The Marseillaise.
Well, yeah. So they after the torment, I think it goes back to the general,
captain, and the general in the office.
Oh boy,
this is like a B movie where we always talk about, if there's an action scene in a cheap movie, then they are going to cut to a gray office.
Oh my
with men
God,
in gray suits and gray hats.
You can envision it. You've got the U.S. flag at an angle with another flag intersecting it. You've probably got a map on the wall. There could be a large phone on the guy's desk. Yeah, we've done too many of those.
Yes,
they're both smoking cigarettes, or the cigarettes are in the ashtray.
They both look vaguely alike. The only difference is their uniform. Not that they have color, but you can kind of tell they're different. But,
right. They both have sort of short, flat toppy haircuts, but you can't tell if that's because they're in the military or just because it's the a 60s B movie actor.
You assume you think that both of them are named Steve, and they might be. It's they could be. Who knows?
Right, and then you've built that up in your headcanon that they're both Steve, and then it turns out one is Bill, and you're like, well, of course.
So yes, we cut back to Bill and Steve,
and they
we get the one thing I liked about this is I think this is the general to Captain Troy. You have a good rapport with the Indian. And again, this is a typo, but the only thing I like about this typo, so rapport, he spelled R-E-P-O-R-E.
That was delightful.
It's just that he was so off on rapport that no spell checker could bring it back.
Right.
Into.
Yeah, that's like an early...
He didn't bother to look it up. Again, he was, the brats were sizzling.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Peyton Manning was delivering his best game as a freshman quarterback, and it reads like there was like a text-to-speech thing, the way he wrote that one out. I mean, I guess rapport is not a word that looks anything like it sounds, but...
well, that's all of the English language, so it's not our fault that one is, he's the writer.
Well, then we start to get into the, he gets word back from the Census Bureau, and as expected, there is no record of these two truckers. But he says, I checked with the Census Bureau. There's no record whatsoever they're being from Georgia, Tennessee, or any other part of the country. So you get Georgia, Tennessee, and the rest there. And then it says, this is the first time where they do pin down very soon the exact year that they believe it to be through some mental leaps that I found a little hard to understand. We'll get to that. But the general says, with the trouble brewing between the North and South over slavery, we can't be too careful. Which is, that's something that I am always doing, is just casually mentioning, the current events, the underlying political currents of the day, just to remind people sort of when we are, even though they would be well aware of it and not need to be reminded that there's, giant waves of change happening.
I wondered, though, is it much more subtle and sly than that? Like even the founding fathers knew if they kicked the can down the road that they would have to face it. So it still could be 1770.
Sure, yes.
It's not like they were unaware.
Right, yes, exactly. And the way it bears out, I think that, to get ahead of it, I think they determined they're in 1838.
I didn't even, I was like, look, that horse has left the barn. Stop this. Who cares? Yes,
I think that's the exact year they put it in. So it's it's not like we the Articles of Confederation are being drafted up as we speak. We've still got a couple very forgettable, ineffectual presidents to come in between that moment. So.
So he has this conversation with the general. This is one of my favorite. Again, the subject confusion here. The captain saluted the general and left his office thinking all he said was rubbish. I thought this could be read as the wit of the staircase, What could I have said better?
Right, yes.
I really screwed that up, and then I realized, he means the general was rubbish. But it is man, that is a classic in that genre.
Right, and didn't
throw the horse over the fence, a bale of hay kind of sentence.
Right, but and also the last time he left the office, he was saying out loud his thoughts to himself, and you only realized afterwards that he was saying that. So he didn't say, "Man, that was a lot of rubbish." He thought to himself, like.
Right. We do learn that the makeup of the country as well. There are English, French, and Russians in this country, as well as Mexicans and Canadians.
Yeah,
He's reminding him. I love when people remind me what our country is made up of.
Yeah, and that's sort of like meant to imply, because there's the cover story that they might be pretty much the wild shot theory they arrive at is that they're here from another country, possibly one of those other countries they just mentioned, here to stir up Indian unrest in the Wild West by speaking their perfect unaccented English to the Indians. So I think they believe it could be a French or a Russian spy who might be doing that. So that's sort of their basic theory.
It has happened. There were entire divisions of them in WW2, and of course the Cold War was replete with double, triple agents who spoke perfect English, whatever. So I guess maybe he's ahead of his time.
Why not? Yeah, I mean, it's almost as if these general and the captain are integrating things that we learned hundreds of years down the line in history and are going about their day-to-day life in the 1838s as if they are aware of these trends and historical precedents.
Are you accusing our author of anachronisms? How dare you? How dare you? But we quickly meet, I think, my favorite new character, and that is Christina Troy.
Yeah.
Who
the captain's beloved wife.
Yes, who he receives a letter from. And I wrote to you in frustration about this, but I'm going to open all my letters this way from now on.
All right.
Dear Timothy, I started not to come west after reading about those awful battles that were being fought in Wyoming with the Indians.
Yeah, off with a bang.
I started not to come west. So, is she coming west? Did she start and then not come?
Listen,
Did she not start and then... I just don't... I've never heard that construction ever in my life.
Today, just like every other day and the rest of my life that preceded it, I started not to go to Australia. I woke up. I did not buy a ticket.
I started not to do. I literally can't list them. Right. They are endless.
So yeah, I guess she's meaning like I was going to cancel our plans. I was gonna. I mean, that's how a normal person would say that. There's no reason for me to rephrase this. I was going to cancel my plans after reading about those awful battles.
But you never once mentioned any such battles being fought. Okay, So she's angry.
Sure.
Like, why didn't you mention these battles? You son of a... And you're making me come up. I know you would never have me and the boys placed in that sort of danger. I guess the danger of coming through the battles.
Sure.
So she's still mad? I don't know. So he's probably reading this with his trembling hand is pouring his third shot. Like, right. What is she... Is this divorce? What is happening? I came with the prince... That's Prints, not
yes.
The prince. Knowing there was something being told that was not the absolute truth.
Very confusing.
Knowing there was something being told. The most passive sentence on earth, but you don't even have a subject. Something was being told to someone somewhere. And because of that, she came with the prince.
Yeah, it's baffling until and so this is not something she's saying in real time. This is, this is a letter that she has sat down to write all at once. So like, it's not like she's having these realizations because she has a realization that the prints, aka newspapers, are full of inaccuracies that the general has sort of lied. He's embellished his record, but it's almost as if she's writing this and then realizing she starts off angry. She starts off almost canceling, but then she gets new information as opposed to her writing this at the very end when it's all found out.
I thought it was like a weird David Mamet thing. Like it's just the sound or something. I'm not supposed to even pay attention to what's happening. It's just the rhythm of the thing. I came with the prince, knowing there was something being told. It was not the if there was trouble of any kind, you would have told me when you read the prince. The prince. You'll note your prince. The name has not been mentioned. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, and it is not a common term for papers or anything like that to give you any sort of indication what she's talking about.
And because of that, she's my new
Favorite character, of course. Well,
because she manages to stand out as the most confusing character of all of these dolts.
Well, wait till you get to meet her, because, whew.
Oh, yeah.
If
I had the charm of Chad, I would like to meet her.
So, yeah, she's worried that the general is sort of like, he's been phoning in fake news stories, I guess. She says, the article states that the chief attacked the fort and the general repelled the attack and killed many of his warriors. That was last spring before the general was even given command of the fort. It also states the general ran the chief and his people completely out of Wyoming. I began to collect and read more of the newsprint, or prints, as us in the biz say, and found more of the general's feats against various tribes, and not once was your name mentioned. From your letters, something is afoul and must be brought to light. So she sort of is. I don't even know what the term is, but the general is essentially saying like, oh yeah, we beat these guys, and it's a tribe that doesn't even exist. So they have found his fraud and determined that he must be punished. And how does she suggest that he take action? She says, be careful how you approach the situation, because he is now considered a hero in the eyes of thousands upon thousands back east. The general carries a lot of clout. You should probably contact his news or press agent. The truth should be told, and you are in a position to do so. So, yeah, she suggests getting in touch with the general's press agent out in, Fort Laramie or wherever the hell they are.
So, either his news or press agent is your first course of action.
Yes,
that's how you are careful in this situation.
Well, I mean, you've watched a B Western. You know all the stock characters. You've got the town drunk. You've got the hooker with a heart of gold. You've got the Wild West press agent. It just sort of slots right into all of the things.
He's leaning into the cliche, and in a sense, I admire it.
But the thing is, I thought the exact same thing, but I went and looked this up in the Western Times. That's a GeoCity site. It's part of the Western web ring. But press agents of the Old West were very much a real thing. They had a lot of people out there who needed to, paint the picture, create the whole mythos of what was going on out west. Like all our stock characters exist essentially because of these hardworking press agents who sort of got their people at the forefront. They told them what to do. And
this didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, they didn't just appear in the 40s with a little card in their hat or smoking cigarettes at a restaurant in New York. They had to come from somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard of Buffalo Bill, like that's because of his press agent. It's not because he did anything remarkable. He was just some idiot who just happened to have, the best press. So people are out there, and they've sort of, these documents survive. These press agent lore, I guess. They had their own series of dime store novels, and so there's people who are like, what do they call them? Anachronistic reenactors, sort of LARPers, and they reprise some of these meetings to sort of give these press agents of the Old West their due.
Oh, so just like bring these tropes to life.
Yeah. Unsung heroes.
Yeah.
And so, I downloaded one of those, and we can hear what it might have been like for a Wild West guy just getting his start, sort of, to try to make it big with the help of his agent.
Hey, there he is, my favorite client. Come on in, baby. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?
No, I'm good.
Whew, we have neither. The last wagon train of supplies never made it. Tipped over trying to ford a river. Next 2 weeks will be dicey, but that's not important. What's important is this guy right in front of me.
Well, that's good to hear.
But it's not all deer and antelope playing, I'm afraid. We need to talk about your Q rating.
Oh, dear. Is it bad?
Is it bad? It's Q. In 1838, we haven't got around to finishing the rest of the alphabet yet. It's the lowest letter.
Oh, dear. Oh. So does that mean people didn't like my last trick shot exposition?
Read it and weep, Annie Oakley.
Shooting demo marred by self-indulgent rants. Come on! I was just saying that we should think about who the savages really are.
Hey, and that's fine. You got a podium. You got to use it. But you brought that point up 4 different times in a 10-minute show. And now your friendly neighborhood press agent has got to do damage control before you're doing trick shot expositions in one-horse towns like Lafayette, Colorado.
Ooh, Lafayette got a horse?
you're on thin ice, a substance I haven't seen in my many long years of living here.
All right, fine. Well, what do you have in mind?
All right, well, first of all, you gotta do the Tonight Show with Pickaxe Joe.
Oh, no way. The crazy old prospector?
Hey, that crazy old prospector is the biggest name in late night. Late night being 8:15 p.m., the latest anyone stays up, because you will definitely be eaten by wolves if you're up any later.
Fine. I'll do the Pickaxe Joe show.
Then we gotta do some press manipulation. We're gonna get you a hot young lady who, since it's the 1830s, somehow looks like a grandmother, even though she's 19 years old. Then we'll let the paparazzi snap some pics.
Oh, I hate photos. You have to sit still for like 10 minutes.
Well, you won't be sitting still for this next idea. You gotta leak a sex zoetrope.
I'm not leaking a sex what?
Zoetrope. You look through this slot and it looks like the pictures are moving. It's the latest thing. How do you think Pickaxe Joe got everyone to forget about that sheep scandal?
Fine. I'll leak a sex zoetrope.
Great. Last but not least, I've signed you up for Twitter. That's where you send telegrams that are less than 280 characters, because that length is frankly all we can afford after your shooting demo tanked.
I can't believe this is happening.
Hey, you keep your chin up, buddy. We play these cards right, and in a few years you could be endorsing your own line of hoops that you roll with a stick.
And that's a good thing?
It's the only, and therefore most popular toy there is.
Okay, fine. Well, it's not going to be easy, but I can do this.
That's the spirit. Sheila, send in Pickaxe Joe.
Pickaxe Joe?
So it's a sexy zoetrope you be wanting, eh? Well, Pickaxe Joe will make all them other stag flicks look like fool's gold. Now, whip it out, fella. Don't be nervous. I don't see a torture pole or a Sioux chief's wife anywhere in sight.
At least the life expectancy here is only 27.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
wow,
it's
what a colorful life they live.
It was. It's very similar to how your average Joe, your average sort of comedy guy might expect a press agent to behave in 2019, but happening in the 1840s. With very little change.
Shockingly like that.
Some cultural touchstones added in just to really ground it.
Amazing analog. And good actors too.
Oh, very.
All
I
the way
mean,
around.
those anachronistic reenactors are they're passionate about what they believe in.
If we ever reassemble the 372-page players, let's give them a call.
Yep, just rip that Band-Aid off, why don't you? That wound is still fresh. But yeah, so he gets this news, and he reads through and says he read the individual articles and found the general had been a hero in several battles. Problem was, no battles had been fought at the time mentioned in each article. So he realizes that his wife is correct, and he's been running this scam the whole time.
And the chapter lovingly ends. After she sends this baffling letter and prints, of course, he closes the chapter with this thought, which I'm going to say to my wife every day. Christina, he thought, now I know why I married her. She is some kind of wonderful.
Yes.
So he had probably just seen the movie with, is it Eric Stoltz? I believe it's an 80s movie. It might be it might be in the orbit of the John Hughes universe. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But
yeah,
anyway.
or maybe he just had finished listening to Grand Funk Railroad's Greatest Hits, and that came up on there. Is that a theme song from that movie? Because when I Googled it, that was all that came up, and I knew it was a song, but...
Oh, I knew the song, and I thought that the movie was based on the that Grand Funk Railroad song. But I don't... Well, someone yell at us right now and say, no, there's no Eric Stoltz movie named Some Kind of Wonderful. But I'm pretty sure there is.
Sure, yeah.
I'll stake my reputation on So that's the end of chapter 15.
Yeah, that is the end of chapter 15. And chapter 16 is a big old long one. So
Man.
even though
This
it just
baby goes
about as
on.
much happens in 15 as 16. We get some of our the Trucking Through Time crowd was yelling out for its some of its greatest hits during chapter 16, and Harris felt obliged to indulge. But before we do that, why don't we listen to some?
Pencil is at the ready. Anytime you are set to go.
All right.
I'm going to kill this.
Let's do number 1. While they were waiting, so there's 50 pages left in the book. So this is all, in theory, stuff that either comes from those final 50 pages or is something that a listener wrote. Number 1. While they were waiting for the waitress, Dale said, I felt like a fool after I talked to Marie. I woke her up and she was surprised I called. She said I just talked to her last night. I didn't try to explain. I just told her how much I loved her. I told her to call your mom and tell her everything was okay. On a happy note, Chad, she said my son had found himself a new lady friend and also got a new job. She sounded pretty upscale about it, too. She said she met the girl and she was very pretty. She was dark-skinned and had the appearance of an Indian. Go figure, right, partner?
No. That's fanfic.
Dale's son? That was
Well, how old? Wait. How old are they?
in the headcanon of whoever might have written this, I'm not sure. There was no more evidence provided.
Chad is like a charming bon vivant who's just slaying the women everywhere. A son old enough to begin dating dark-skinned women?
Dale's son. And on a happier note, Chad, she said my son had found himself a new lady friend.
Oh, right. Yeah, but they're the same age.
Yes,
I believe.
Very much, yeah.
The only difference between them is the
100 pounds.
The 100 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's fanfic. Number 2. They each ordered hamburgers and fries with coffee. When the waitress finally came with menus, Chad turned the menu over and saw a story on the back. Look at this, Dale. It read, 1831, Fort Bragg, Wyoming Territory, General Nathan Rollins, commander of Fort Bragg, was placed in irons and relieved of command after fabricating stories of his feats against hostile Indians. It seems he was trying to make a name for himself at the expense of small Indian tribes that were peaceful. 2 farm boys from Georgia sent a wire to President Garfield to inform him of the needless attacks. He was stopped just in time to save a tribe of Sioux from being attacked also. The farm boys were never found to thank for the wire that would stop this man forever. Damn it, farm boy. We did change history.
Look, I love it. But it is... I stake my Dixon Ticonderoga on that being fanfic.
All right. But it's good to see the menu stories paying off in a big way.
Absolutely.
Well done to whoever did that. This is number 3.
Should have put a fuzzy in it. I would have bit.
Number 3. God damn you, Collins, the captain swore as his face flushed with fury. Washington will hear all about this disgrace, and I will strip you of your uniform myself when this is over. Collins only sneered as he tightened his grip around Christina's waist and cocked the revolver against her neck. It's you who should be stripped of that uniform, you filthy traitor. Why don't you and your foreign friends all put on some buckskins and show us who you really are? The tension in the room was palpable. Chad, Dale, and the captain glared at Collins, but spared reassuring glances at Christina, who bore her predicament with feminine grace and dignity. It was clear to all involved why the captain had taken her from his wife, for his wife. Damn, Collins, that's no way to treat a lady, Dale said. Did your mama never teach you about good manners? Don't waste your breath, partner. From what I've seen of him, he'd need a gun to get a woman that close to him. I bet he's lacking in a certain other department, if you catch my meaning, Chad observed. The 2 friends shared a grin, despite the tense situation.
Oh, I have to be so careful these days. That's very good. I believe it is fanfic.
All right. Let us move on to number 4. Chad and Dale paid the check and left the diner. Despite all the great food and hospitality we received from the tribe, I really did miss our truck stop cuisine. Do you think Dancing Leaf or Slim Fox would enjoy it as well? I hope so. I hope they would like our time as much as we liked theirs. Here's something I've been wondering. Do you think the death of Bad Eye Wilson stopped the birth of Patch Wilson? Chad asked. Possibly, partner. I wonder if our adventure caused anything else in history to change. Well, damn it all, Dale said. Across the street from the lot appeared Big Bear and Fast Cat Memorial Park, complete with a large bronze statue honoring the 2 great heroes of the tribe. Well, damn it all, Chad remarked. Ain't no way Miss Marie will believe this. Chad walked up to the statue and placed his hand on the marker. It is a pretty good likeness, though. They both laughed.
Oh, again, I'm tempted, but I'm keeping my powder dry. I think that's fanfic.
All right. And remember, they all could be fanfic or they all could be real. So.
Exactly.
And here's the final one, number 5. The police officers stood behind Patch, each placing a hand on his shoulder. You ain't welcome here no more, Patch. You and your family ain't nothing but trouble, yelled the diner owner as the officers struggled to drag him from the diner. I'll have you know the Wilsons have been living in this area since the time of the Indians, and we always had a good name in these parts, replied Patch as he struggled with all his might. Hearing that, Chad and Dale smiled. Hey, Patch, it could be worse. At least they're letting you keep your scalp and your other parts intact, called out Dale with a hearty laugh as the group struggled past their table. Patch looked back and shot Chad and Dale a look of anger mixed with confusion as the 2 officers finally got him out the diner door.
Look, I'm not going to be fooled. That was fanfic.
All right.
I think they were all fanfic today.
Wow. Well. So you are.
I hope they're all real.
You are 3 for 5.
Oh,
two.
What?
We had 2 real ones. The first 2 were real. The one of the Dale's son, who I do not believe we have heard any references to.
What?
Dale and Miss Marie's son meets a nice girl who appears like an Indian.
Wait, what the?
So we've got
So all this time and all this talk about being back, like I don't want to be unfaithful to my wife.
Yeah.
Never a mention of. Plus, I could never look my son in the eyes.
The torment on his face in that last scene we mentioned. There was another part where they said like the men thought about their families or something like that, and I almost flagged that and went back, but I was like, okay, he probably has parents, he probably has siblings or cousins that he could fit the definition, but no, evidently Dale has got a son.
What?
We've got that to look forward to. Hope we get to meet him. Number 2, the menu turning over and the farm boys.
No.
That was real. So that's him. The menus do pay off, which is amazing. But they are now on their own.
What did you say? Damn it, farm boy?
Damn it, farm boy. We did change history.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, there's some good stuff to look forward to in the upcoming chapters.
Wow.
The other 3, I think you just got a little. I think you got all those right. The first one was Collins with a gun to Christina's waist. That was by Con. We had number 4. That was the statues being erected in Big Bear and Fast Cat Memorial Park. That was by Harris. I liked that one quite a bit. And then the 5th one of Patch Wilson being dragged out of the diner was by Tom. There's got to be some payoff with that. There has to be. But that was not an actual one.
But the statue thing, given the menu, is not that big of a...
Yes.
Really not.
Right. So, yeah, that's it was good to have them both in there and to see which one was the author's real deal and which one other. Also, I looked it up as we were doing this because it stood out to me. It's that second one that was real says 2 farm boys from Georgia sent a wire to President Garfield. Any idea? Can you size up when do you think General Garfield, President Garfield?
I should know I have to go through in order before I can get time, so we don't have the time to do it on this podcast. When was it?
But he died in office. He was assassinated in 1881.
Right.
So
right. This is far later than I
far
would have
later.
thought.
Yeah. It's far later. It's 45 years after they've determined it to be in this upcoming section in 1838.
What was the guy's name? The assassin's name?
Oh man. Was it funny?
Grigolowski or something like that?
Charles J. Guiteau.
Guiteau.
A disappointed and delusional office seeker.
Yeah. He's no Gavril Princip.
No, he's got...
Yeah.
He's got the that assassin named covered. But yeah, he was hanged a year later. He looks crazy. He looks sort of like V.I. Lenin's loser brother. All right, so that's Charles J. Guiteau for you. Thanks to everyone who wrote in their fanfic. It was great. Well done. And we will have some more for you to do coming up soon. But for now, it's Chapter 16,
Yes, they're leaving the camp. One of the first sentences, they just rode off, leaving Light Feather in tears and Dancing Leaf very sad. So they were both sad.
Yes, very. Well, look, I mean, it would have solved a little bit of a problem if you told Dancing Leaf, like, "Hey, I've got a son. He looks up to me." Like, she might not have gotten as close to you as she did in these past 2 days if she had known that detail. But
yes.
now that they're away from the women, there's finally an opportunity for Dale to get his details.
Oh my God! Bridget actually stopped me from saying this sentence. She said, "No, you can't read this on the air. You're not going to read this, are you?" And she asked me like 3 times. I said, "Of course we're going to read this."
Yeah, this was.
I didn't write this. This is Charles. This is Grandpa Charles.
Not even my grandpa that wrote it.
Yes.
Oh my God. So buckle up, folks. We got the Wang severing last time, and now we've got the woke truckers giving way to horny truckers. This was great. This was everything. This is everything you hope for when we do a book like this. But so this is Dale saying, "Now are you going to tell me about your?" So he's persisting. Like Chad has already been like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, we're not 19. Like, when was the last time you pressed someone for details about this sort of thing?
You were in the lodge while we had wild sex just last night. You were there. You were pretending it wasn't happening. We discussed this.
Right. And plus, I mean, you've got like a 40-hour truck ride back with this guy. He's going to tell you all these gross things he did, and then you're going to just sit across the cabin with him as he's peeing in a bag and trying not to think about all these things. So,
yeah, we still haven't composed our letter to the War Department or to the President to Congress.
Yeah, dear President Garfield, watch out for Charles J. Guiteau when you take office in 35 years.
Read the sentence because it builds. I assume you're going to read the first one that starts with "So far, that's the best idea."
I think so.
Yeah, because let me read that because that's a build up to the one that's the payoff.
Okay.
Because this is where I was already objecting to Grandpa and begging him to stop the story. Now, are you going to tell me about your night across the river with Light Feather? Don't spare any details. I have to know everything. Is she as good in bed as she looks like she would be?
Yeah.
Tell your partner all about it, 10-4. Like, you creep. You gross. Like, I don't put up with this from guys I go to school with. I'm like, just get out of my face, you. Yeah, what a dick. Like, no.
Yeah, it really is.
Away from me.
It's a part of your life that as an adult you don't really realize has happened, the getting out of the details stage. But I can remember being back in that stage where that would have been considered appropriate, and that was over 20 years ago for me.
And keep in mind, the guy asking this has a child of dating age. We now know.
Right. But what is Light Feather wearing in these scenarios? Like, is she as good in bed as she looks like she would be? Is she, is she wearing like, tribal lingerie? Like, how like hot and horny can she possibly look like in just these? I don't know. Maybe I'm just I'm projecting into this thing, but we all know how people back in that age did not fit conventional standards of beauty.
Yeah, are there was she doing like Native American versions of like Playboy poses?
Yeah,
like,
she was washing a car in a buckskin bikini or something.
But then it gets, and I'll let you
all right.
go to the. Right. I think this is I assume you have the payoff line.
Oh yeah. So Chad says, "Well, I'll tell you, Buckner. I'll tell you, partner. But I also have to know how your night went." It'd be weird if he was talking to Bill Buckner in this scene, if that was just how the third act left. I'll tell you, partner, but I also have to know how your night went. Did you have company? Dancing Leaf is crazy about you. She almost creams in her buckskins when you are close to her. What's up with that? So just, all caps. Grandpa, no! Oh, my God.
What in the hell? Cheech and Chong level humor from 1974 shows up in 1888?
Yeah. I don't even...
I mean, the less said about it, the better other than that, that's just not a phrase. I don't know. Let's just move.
This is Charles E. Harris's grandkids have returned. They're Listerining the vomit out of their mouth from when they read Grandpa Rodin about the dick cutting off, and now they pick this back up, and he's got creaming in buckskins from ladies from Dancing Leaf. So, yeah, how about that?
Shocking. And then it goes on.
Yeah.
Without asking, Chad, I'm surprised you would even ask that question. Everyone is surprised.
Yes.
I know, partner. I know. I was just kidding anyway. And then, please don't tell Marie I ever mentioned or suggested anything of the sort.
He backtracks very quickly.
It's just more evidence that Miss Marie is a very dangerous and threatening person.
Oh, yeah. He starts joking around with the buckskin talk, and all of a sudden just Marie floats through his head holding up her nipple clamps, and he's like, well, I mean, no one's creaming in anything. It's amazing.
Please don't tell Marie I ever mentioned or suggested anything of the sort.
Yes. Yeah, full back pedal. It's amazing.
Oh, my God. What about your son, your beloved son?
Right.
Whatever.
Oh, man,
Tell
yeah.
him.
I'm glad we found that fanfic, because it does cast all of this in a whole new light, too, being like, now, son, one day when you go off to college, you may meet a girl who may cream in her buckskins at the sight of you, but you've got to be responsible. You've got to wait to find the right one, and got to use protection, son, because these... Anyway, let's move on.
If you are tempted, please use long paragraphs of weird courtly language as you put her off. If she brings you to that hot spring, please spend 4 or 5 minutes at least talking about why you can't be with her.
You treat her right. You lay her down on the softest buffalo skins you might have. None of this guest mattress buffalo skins.
If you have just, lopped off a penis and thrown it in the fire, please at least wait till the fire dies and the screams from the person die down a little bit.
Dale's son has not looked up from Fortnite throughout the entire conversation that we have just envisioned here. So that's it. That's the. Will we get more Grandpa No talk? I hope so, but it has paid off in more than I could have hoped for, I think.
But it goes on. You'd think it was over, but the next sentence, I believe, after apologizing for the comment, Chad began telling Dale all about his night with his new love. He spared nothing to the imagination.
Yes. So he's doing imitations of noises and stuff. He's like repositioning himself to show the different ways they were doing it. Like,
yeah, it's the puppets in Team America or whatever. He's just like
right. He's introducing him to new like regional terms for dirty acts they were doing that are on Urban Dictionary and stuff.
If it were taped and then bleeped, it would be, oh man, I'm telling you, I beep beep, and that turned into a beep 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 beep,
and then she put her beep. But then he goes on to say, because this was a real woman and deserved to have a real man. So all we're left to believe is that they just like went at it like hogs in heat over on the hot spring side of the river, because they are. They're doing it like there may be a no tomorrow.
But then it ends on a more delicate note. This is the Charles E. Harris touch. He told his partner that Lightfeather was the most precious thing he had ever encountered. This was a real woman, deserved to have it. He told his partner that she was the real thing. I thought Coke was the real thing, but whatever. And hoped the relationship would forever be as exciting and satisfying. What are you talking about?
Right.
They're riding away to go talk to the president right now or whatever.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand he'd hoped it would forever be that way.
I mean, maybe the Great Spirit, I think, did intimate some way that there would be that they would be forever together with these people. I think that's his mild reassurance about this whole thing.
Oh, okay. So it's just going to be an endless festival of just.
Yeah, right. When did he realize she was the most precious thing he'd ever encountered? Was it when she, had her leg up around beep, or was it when she told him to spit beep on her beep? Maybe the second one. Yeah.
Grandpa, no.
Then after that, they are after all the details, they have that has awakened something in Dale's mind, hearing about this horny night across the springs, and they get down to determining exactly when all this is taking place. And so this is a lot of information. I'm going to toss it all at you, and you can see if it makes any sense to you, because it makes absolutely none to me. All we've really been told is that like there's some Confederates, there's tensions over slavery between North and South, and these guys are now going to start parsing this out. Partner, what century and year did you say you thought it might be? I said that from the weapons the troops carries, it had to be somewhere in the early 1800s. They were carrying flintlocks or Hawkins. The repeating rifle was developed later in the 1800s, about 1850, I think. It's before 1850, but the Civil War is wildly apparent to be just around the corner to anyone out in the Wyoming territory.
Right, and then you get this shocking thing. Slim Fox is the great one the shaman was speaking of as a great leader of the Sioux. That would make him Sitting Bull, the one who did Custer in.
Yeah.
And then this astonishing bit of fake news. If that is the case, the time would be just about right. Custer was only 20 or 21 when he was killed at the Little Bighorn battle.
Not true?
Utterly not true.
Okay.
It is wildly untrue. Why would he think that there would be a general who was 20 or 21? He was not. He was thought to be 36 or 37.
Okay, all right.
Which is exactly what, if someone said to you, how old do you think Custer was? You're going to be shocked by the answer. You'd go, I don't know, 36 or 37. Oh, yeah, he was.
Sure, yes. Right,
but 20 or 21 is just, it's not correct. I don't understand what he's doing here.
And it keeps building because he gives you that bit of information, which I did not think to look up. I've read part of a book about Custer, and the one thing they always talk about is how he was last in his class at West Point, which is sort of inaccurate because it's like that's like sort of like being last in your class at the honors program in Harvard, isn't it? Like you're not a dumbass who got there. And I think there was also people who didn't graduate, so they were like technically ranked below him. So anyway, Custer revisionist aside. Custer was only 20 or 21 when he was killed at the Battle of Little Bighorn. Then he says Slim Fox is 12 years old now, and that battle was in 1870 or 1871, I think. So if we take 20 years if we take 20 years and add it to Slim Fox ages now and subtract that from 1870, otherwise known as subtracting them both from 1870, we would have an approximate year, which would be around 1838. So the whole thing reminded me of, like, one circulates every, 4 months or so on Facebook where people are like, only 20% of people are going to know the right answer. And then they have, a ridiculous order of operations problem where there's parentheses and all that, and every single person in the comments has a different answer, even though it's obvious what the correct answer is to me every single time. But then, so this is trying to figure out math based on your estimates about Custer, which are wrong, and when the battle is, which is also probably wrong, or you have a vague knowledge. And then they just start adding 20 years to Slim Fox's age to subtract that. It just, for them to then accept this as immediately as they do, they have done it in a very convoluted way.
Yeah, I hopefully some of the readers and listeners have parsed this out, but I just glazed over that. I didn't feel like I had already done enough work with they, him, he, they, she, he, him, they, where I was frustrated. Right. So Custer was only 20 or 21 when he was killed, and Slim Fox is 12. I'm already lost. And it's part two of the problem has already lost me. I actually thought you were going to go to, here's a couple things that'll make you feel old. Slim Fox's was only 12 in 1870.
Right. Or Custer was 20, Slim Fox was 12, and then what did the bellboy do with the extra $1 of tips that they had to return to him, type of thing. Just drive you nuts with math for the rest of the book.
Wasn't there one just a couple days ago that was, I thought of you because I know you're a big fan of order of operations.
Sure, I got my PEMDAS tattoo.
Yeah, but isn't that, it's insufficient? There was it started a firestorm it was a very simple order of operation, but it's something about and I saw the mathematician going, please people, you can't get so excited about the order of operations are a suggestion, but there's a way to state this where you should have done it this way, and like stop, it's not Yanni or whatever, Laurel all over again. This is very easy to solve if you state it this way.
Right.
And that's
the thing that I saw was essentially like, if you see one of those problems, that problem has been written with the intent of confusing and irritated you.
Right.
Like no mathematician would ever. PEMDAS is a suggestion because it does not need to be a law, because no idiot would ever write a math problem the way that those puzzles are presented to you on Facebook.
Right. Well, anyway, this is certainly a thing that irritated me, and we're no closer to knowing where they actually are in time, because then he says they later, as we learned from the fanfic, right? Which was real fic. Yeah. The real fic is that it was Garfield.
Yes. But so I don't know if that's going to turn out to be that they've misunderestimated this poorly, or if the Garfield thing is an anachronistic thing. But you would assume.
Please say that your misunderestimated was
intentional.
Was intentional.
Yes. I've misunderestimated how many people are named Ogden in this universe. God.
Wow. In the wild. Nicely done.
It's impossible. It's just, I was thinking about that for like 30 seconds leading up to it. And, but so after all this nonsense, you would expect Chad or Dale, whoever the one who's not speaking, to be like, walk this one back a bit, buddy. Because they finished by saying, we could be a couple years off either way, but we're in a close proximity of the present year. But the other guy responds by, I see what you're saying. So he's just rattled off this nonsense to arrive at 1838, and then the other guy is 100% on board. But also, he's just making mental leaps that Slim Fox grows up to be Sitting Bull.
He's like someone that you take to an escape room who doesn't really want to be there. Like, if we grab the key and punch in the code that's on the thing, like, yeah,
right.
You know what? I arrived at the exact same conclusion you did. Just looking at his watch,
trying to get them involved. Yeah. Hey, Dad, do you want to come over here and type 802 into the computer to contact the spy? No? All right. But yeah, so then they go on to keep saying that we have, you and I have just killed Custer by saving Slim Fox, which again, sure, I guess if your wacky hypothesis is true, that is in theory true, but this is you're tampering in things you can't understand here, so you might as well just ride with all the implications of whatever you've just done.
But here's another thing I don't understand. Alternate timeline, right? You and I have just killed Custer by saving Slim Fox.
Yeah.
So, but Custer did die at... So what did they do to make him die?
Right, they have not...
So they're looped in the only timeline that there is, and they're the cause of it? Well, so if you look in a history book... Well,
it also, the timeline predicates... they got back to a time when Slim Fox was about to die. So if we're to understand the way that this works, it means that someone else was going to come along and save Slim Fox if they hadn't, since he does grow up to be Custer. Unless them just appearing in front of that buffalo herd was enough of a butterfly's wings to make Patch Wilson beat Slim Fox and molest his mom.
Right.
Unless time had already changed by them observing it, Heisenberg style.
Right. But you said... Anyway, it doesn't matter. You misspoke, and you said that he grows up to be Custer, Slim Fox.
Oh, right. Grows up to be Sitting Bull. Yes.
Yeah.
He's bitten off more than he can chew, we say for the dozenth time reading this book.
Yes. And they're pretty cavalier about that, too. Like, what implications does that have that we're just doing that? Like, is that, again, there's just no moral talk about that. Like, of course. Good. Right. Custer's dead. Like,
right.
I don't know. How much have you delved into it?
Well,
I'm not advocating for either. I'm just saying they're just so cavalier about it.
Yeah. Well, and now Chad is very likely going to have left offspring back in this timeline as well. So, I mean, that's, from getting busy across the hot spring. So it's, they're not just flapping their wings. They're, whew.
And look, and they're not unserious about this situation. They realize the gravity of it because they say, when we get to town, we'll get a newspaper and check up on the local events to be sure we're approaching this situation properly. Again, the most nonchalant, people just poking around in time, dicking around here, killing a person here or there. the entire timeline of Earth's history. Like, look, we'll get a newspaper when we get. It'll be cool, man. Just relax.
What are they going to see in the newspaper in terms of local events that are going to influence their decision one way or another?
I have no idea.
It's like, oh, it's the Tumbleweed Festival. I guess
I assume they would
we
submit
can kill
something
Custer?
to the advice column and then wait for it to come back.
Right.
Hey, we're from another time. My cousin wants to know, should we?
But yeah, I guess that's their coming to terms with what they've done. But they are still taking it lightly, as you said, because they have exchanges such as this. Let's break for lunch. My butt is getting sore from riding this frazzling horse.
Is he a pioneer in the fracking horse?
Yeah.
From what was the series? Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, it's because I think they have sworn before this, and I did note some later. So this is where they draw the line, though, when maybe his butt is so sore that he's not thinking properly in terms of how he's talking.
How am I going to cut off some guy's penis on this frazzling horse? How am I going to hump a maiden?
Right. Oh, so then they say they see a huge cloud of dust on the trail ahead, and Chad says, "I hope that's not who I think it is. I hope it's not the general." So he just felt the need to clarify that to his buddy as in real time as the dust cloud was approaching. They are. It turns out that it is Captain Tim. Who's leading a bunch of guys who are they've come to bring them back. As is anyone else's style, Captain Tim cannot help of informing the plans without crapping on Collins. He says, "This might interest you as well. Let's go solve this mystery of the sudden appearance of two non-existing strangers from nowhere," the captain said with a smile. "You know Collins is in the formation, so don't answer his questions."
from far off. Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Why me? In that sentence you just read, though, he says there's dust on the trail, which I think it says which they assume. I guess it's they, which they assume is the general attacking. Oh, that's me. That's my typo. Never mind. Scratch that out. But he says, "I'm just not going to worry about it. Things have to work out." So, while they're actively trying to figure out, what is this dust cloud? Who is that? Maybe it's the general attacking the Indians. Maybe it's someone coming to kill us. I'm not going to worry about it. Things have to work out.
Right.
What? That was just a Charles E. Harris touch that I just did not understand. This is actively happening.
Well, yeah, I think they've just talked about how they're influencing the timeline, but now they're just sort of like, hey, que sera, sera. Great Spirit said something's going to happen, and who are we to intervene? We're not going to trolley problem this son of a bitch. We got to let it just play out.
So confronted by the hard questioning of the captain, they say, "If you will give us an audience for 10 minutes, you will understand that Dale and I are 100% American and unbiased toward the Indian and can explain our status among everyone involved. All we want is a chance to tell our story to someone with an understanding and some common sense." To which the captain, I assume, replies, "You are clearly an alien trying to speak English."
Right.
Kill them immediately and ask questions. Nobody is going to miss whatever this life form is in front of me.
Or the captain was just like, someone with common sense. "Well, I guess you're not talking about Collins."
Damn it,
and
Captain.
Again, hey.
Come on, man.
Yeah, so that they say no problem, we'll help out. He also says Collins won't intimidate either of one of us. That's a promise. We know he has his nose up the general's ass anyway, so he's dialing back the frazzling very quickly here to start saying Collins has his nose up there. So I was wondering if that was a turn of phrase that Dale might have picked up from Chad's details across the river, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, now. Bleep up his bleep.
But now they've got now they're into a exchange that we had encountered in real or fan fiction, because it turns out that Collins has. It sounds like he's just been sort of running his own little fight club in the ranks out here, and I assume that military options in the Wild West were a bit less disciplined than they are, but it sounds like he's kicked the shit out of every single guy in the army unit, and the captain is sort of well, that's Collins. He's
I didn't understand that either.
They say, "Captain, tell Collins to come up here and put the chains on us. I'll shut his mouth permanently." The captain looked a little surprised at the request, but he would like to see Collins put in his place. He had bullied most of the troops and needed to be put where he belonged for once. So he's they go on to say it that later on that like he just like has beaten up every guy in their unit. So I guess that's why no one takes him seriously.
Well, that one ends with one of my favorite subject confusion things. At least if Dale could take him, he would be off their back for a while. Damn it, Charles.
It's amazing.
Just tell us who you're talking about. Don't make me go back and read who. Wait, who? Oh, okay. At least if Dale could take Collins, Collins would be off the backs of all the people's. No, I think the people,
whole unit.
The unit. That's the only thing. Yes, that's why it annoys me.
But yeah, we get some great action in here. I'll just read some of that. Chuck Collins walked up to Dale and sized him up, looking him up and down. He took his hat and threw it to the ground and lunged for Dale. Dale stepped aside and chopped Collins on the back of the neck, setting him face first into the dirt. The troops watched in amazement as Dale threw Collins around and onto the ground several times and didn't even break a sweat. Collins swung at Dale again, and Dale blocked his lick and plastered him on the chin, and Collins landed flat on his tail spelled wrong, with a thud. And then he says, Collins, I think you're outclassed. If you continue this altercation, he may get mad and hurt you. He's just toying with you, but if he gets serious, you're in real trouble. Why don't you apologize for being such a dipshit, 2 words, and shake his hand before he gets real rough?
I made a note after this. This, as you mentioned, this fight was a real or fanfic. And now I appeal to the listeners. What the hell am I supposed to do faced with this?
Right.
You see my predicament. You understand why I am only at 40%. I think someone has actually tracked our success.
Oh, wow. Nice.
But you understand how rough this is.
Yeah, I mean, because
the
dipshit
blocked
is
his lick and plastered him on the chin.
He's actually karate chopping his neck, like.
I mean, all I can picture during this one was the Gorn captain fight. Really,
it has to be
the double fist, on the back that somehow causes people to go and like spread their arms out and fall down flat.
Right, much slower than anyone would ever move if their life was being threatened, but.
Holding his hair with one hand while motioning to the rest of the soldiers, like, should I do away with him? Right. The guy is doing the no.
He could do the Popeye thing where he sort of like his fists are like going in a circle and he keeps punching the guy's chin.
Right.
But yeah, so it's real action. We get more. This was in the fan fiction, but it's worth reading it one more time. Damn it, boy, he just won't learn, partner, Dale said as Chad kicked high in the air, catching Collins on the side of the head. Collins flew backward and landed on his back when he finally stopped rolling. Chad turned to Dale laughing and said, damn it, boy, you're right. But then, so we get some details. Collins was evidently knocked unconscious throughout this whole thing. They caused a severe head trauma, concussion. But the captain says, "You must tell me where you two learned to fight like that. That was simply amazing. I've never seen anything like it before in my entire life." The captain said, showing his curiosity. The troops all yelled and began to laugh at how easily they had taken Collins out. When Collins came to, so he's out for like serious time. Chad reached out his hand to help him, and Collins did not resist his aid. So yeah, I loved the showing his curiosity was emphasized there, and just the idea that they're all just like he's having that thing, they're slapping each other on the back, and Collins is lying there like his brain has slammed into the side of its skull, and he's probably taken a couple years off his life for this, but they're having a great time.
I also love the fact that it's a small detail, but the troops waited to yell and begin laughing at how easily they had taken Collins out till the captain showed his curiosity with a paragraph of questions. Otherwise, they were sitting solidly still waiting for him to...
Yeah, you'd think they would
the captain
be like...
is curious. It's time to cheer.
They weren't doing like Cobra Kai. They weren't yelling, get him a body bag. Was there... as he knocked Collins down a couple times before he actually knocked him unconscious. So they had all sorts of opportunities.
Yeah, and then I think we get to the Napoleon Dynamite fanfic. It's just some defensive moves, Dale, and I learned from back east while in training.
Yes.
Speaking of learning, you got a lot to learn, Collins. Keeping your mouth and comments off my partner and me is one who just learned.
Yeah, we've had a lot of lick talk here, so let's maybe just, we could rephrase it better than keep your mouth and comments off my partner and me.
Keep your comments in your pocket.
But speaking of that, that's very close to the scene in the room where they say, they're saying you can't keep jerking Johnny around like that, and the replacement Peter does a very ChaDale thing. He just says, "I agree with that."
That's right. I forgot about that.
It's all coming back.
Talking
like an alien, getting
time for that one, huh?
Getting details. I mean, Johnny says, "So how's your sex life?" So that was sort of like, wow, the long con.
It's a conspiracy.
Johnny and Mark as Chad and Dale in Trucking Through Time. And then so what? Where do we do this? So Collins He was rude to them in the beginning for no real reason. We determined he was just sort of suspicious. But now that they've kicked the crap out of him, it says, "I don't feel so good either, General, but I'm okay. I just opened my mouth and someone closed it for me." He looked at Dale and smiled, and they knew Collins would give them no more challenges. So now that they've just like utterly kicked the crap out of him, he's on board. He's perfectly fine.
This was that perfect, the guy comes to, basically Roadhouse again. He comes to a small town and you kick the big guy's ass. Is like, he's rearing back to punch you one more time and then starts laughing and rubs you on the head and like, yeah, you're my buddy now. So Collins is their buddy now.
Sure.
This is some of the deep philosophical musings of Chad and Dale. Maybe he just wondered how they licked him so easily. Whatever, it would have to wait. They had no time to dwell on Collins and his simple-minded thoughts. Yeah, these two are at a different level.
Sure.
And it is true. They saw God, so clearly.
True, yeah.
I'm assuming they don't describe it. Charles doesn't describe it, but their hair is whitening now.
Yeah.
There's a look in their eyes, it's like Gandalf the White. Dale, yes, that was my name.
Well, yeah, you've got to imagine that, their trucker humor tapes are not going to really be, they've moved beyond that. They now see a purpose, and they've even traveling outside your time would open your eyes to that. But they have, they've ascended to the ranks of, near gods themselves just by making this journey. So yeah, Collins and his simple thoughts. They have no more time
his simple thoughts, but they do have time to karate kick him to the head. Yeah, take that, Collins.
Right. Yeah, and then they're as we discussed in the previous episode, their improv skills and when thinking up these stories, they have not thought of any of these things before, but they flesh out an entire alternate universe for how they came to be here and studied karate and all this stuff. So,
right.
So then there is time yet again to launch into another defense of the Sioux and what they did to Wilson. So by your count, my count, this is the 10th time they say something about who are the real savages type of thing.
This is in the next. This is a General Collins discussion, right?
Okay. Yes. They go and start talking.
We're
to the
back
general.
to that.
Yep.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So they're playing the greatest hits. You've got a scene in the general's office, and you're saying, but who is the real savage? Us or them? So he says, like, I'd say Wilson, deserved to be punished. White man has come to their community and is trying to take their land. I do not approve of their methods, but I accept it simply because they know no other way. So yeah, very, very philosophy 101, borderline, offensive way to sum up these people. Like they might know another way. They just, they really wanted some torture pole use. Like it had been in mothballs all winter. So they were looking for an excuse to drag it out.
Yeah. You're doing too much work for, people are, they might quite enjoy the torture pole for what it is for no other reason. The general gets into a weird Dadaist thing here. He says to them, I have some unanswered questions for the two of you. The general began. You don't have to answer them, but I warn you, your answers will determine whether or not you will be brought up on charges of treason. Do you understand?
Wow.
Like, no, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's
you just went all Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, exactly. Very Lewis Carroll. I will tell only lies, and Collins will only tell the truth. We don't know which one of them will be, but you must ask us only one question to determine. Do you understand and do you accept? Like, wait a minute. What'd you say? Yes. they're just waiting for the other one to answer the question so the other one can agree with them because no one knows what to say. But yeah, they say that we were born at home on a farm and our parents forgot to tell anyone. That's why they're not in the census. They get cautioned not to trust Collins because he's sort of a toady for the general. I'm not sure if they were going to trust the guy they just kicked the crap out of and knocked unconscious, but good to reassure someone in case they were starting to warm up to him. Mm-hmm. And then we get more of the Napoleon Dynamite talk. He says, Captain, that was known as karate. It's an art known by a handful of people back in the United States. The government was given permission to send a few men to China to learn the art. Chad and I were lucky enough to have been selected to go. Dale lied, hoping to convince the captain in order to get out of telling more lies. Then the two of you are actually secret agents from Washington, are you not? Captain Troy asked. And that says their answer meant they could be off the hook if they could ad-lib through the conversation with logical answers to the captain's questions. So they just, Captain Troy starts helping them out by proposing scenarios, and they just start lying and go along with everything he says. They yes-and the hell out of him.
Which is bizarre, though, that why do you have to go to, they sent us to China to learn it? If they don't know anything about it, they sent us anywhere.
Sure.
We went to a secret camp.
Right.
Oh, you went to China. You know what? My cousin is from China.
Yes.
Oh,
right.
Which part of China were you in? I spent 5 years there.
Oh, yeah. It was, probably in the north. Like, oh, Mongolia then. Like, oh, yeah.
That's exactly where I was.
Yeah. Which boat did you take? Well, there is one boat a year that goes there since it would take 3 months to travel. But it was probably the same boat my cousin was on.
But as they're describing, I noticed that they're getting a little method here. ChaDale, as I call them now.
Okay.
Indians do not have schools to teach them the ways of the white man. White man has come to their community and trying to take their land for a mass movement west. So they themselves start dropping articles and speaking in pidgin English. Like,
yeah,
guys,
it happens more than once. We get at the end of this, they end up sending a telegram to the War Department, and they lapse into the exact same thing. And there, it's sort of like, well, maybe they're trying to save on words for the telegram, but it's very much the white men come this way, leave village burning, stop. Like,
oh, you're sounding a lot like Indian. Oh, actually, that's our Chinese part coming through. Did you not pick up on that?
Yes, the Chinese taught us that fewer words means more energy focused into your karate chops. The authentic karate term that we all know.
Confucius say.
So they keep talking to the general, and they are sort of aware that they're going to have to make an escape during this thing because they need to get to what's the name of the place they're trying to get to so they can
Green River, I believe.
Yes.
I once drove cross country from Minneapolis to San Diego. And I think I was solo, and I drove 17 and a half hours, and I made it to Green River.
Wow.
And so I remember it, and it was the hotel where you try to float above the sheet so you never have to touch them.
Absolutely.
That's my only thought.
Broken down, put in a quarter in the bed vibrates feature.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, yes, a Green River.
But so yeah, they are they're before they plan their escape. This was pretty funny. Colin says our mission is classified, and Colin says, "Can you teach me some of those tricks you used on me?" And they say, "Collins, that is not one of our objectives at present." So they just Collins was angling just to learn a little bit, but I like the very formal way they dismiss that request of his.
No, once again, Collins.
Yes.
No.
Then they double down. You must remember it takes time to learn, and the instructors have to conquer the art first. You will be able to learn the art also as soon as it is available in this area. And I think I'm just going to start referring to driving in my car in reverse as the art anytime someone asks me about that.
As soon as it is available in this area. So,
right.
It's like when you call for fiber optic or something.
Right. Google rolling out Gmail invites type of thing. But yeah, so they start getting ready to escape. And this is something that they enlist Captain Tim's advice to do. The captain... No, he's sort of like runs the show when the general's not here, so he knows a lot of flaws in the fort's security system. He says, "As I said, your best chance will be at 2200 hours." That's when they change guards, and usually pretty lax. That is also when taps are blown. So there's like a guard change happening, and that the guy is aware about. And the captain says, "Oh yeah, sure. When they change, they're usually very lax about that whole process. So if you wanted to invade or escape, that would be the time to do it."
Which he's telling the Easterners who have just convinced him that they're spies because they karate chopped.
Right.
Right. And so the taps bugler.
Mm-hmm.
It says after that, the taps bugler goes straight to the bunk where they all get into a card game. I'm not supposed to know about it, but that's another story.
So, like, the story is that, like, it's officially against the regulations of the fort, but, like, the captain is cool with that because he knows they need to go and blow off steam. Yeah. So they...
Right. He wants to be the cool captain. Like,
right.
Look, it's a card
so
game.
So he overlooks massive security violations.
Every soldier, does these little things like it's not a big deal. You're making a little whiskey behind your footlocker. I'm not going to make a big deal about it.
I'm not made of stone.
You'd think that would be it, Connor, but no. I was astonished at this thing because I thought that's another story. Is like, oh man,
yeah, it's a loaded.
Maybe that's another Charles E. Harris book in the making there.
Oh my! That's the second book he was gathering research for.
Well. That's exactly
collecting
right.
data.
That is the other story that Charles E. Harris wrote, and I had to do some digging.
Huh?
Yeah. I went to Amazon. Charles E. Harris, Trucking Through Time,
mm-hmm.
Captain Troy's story.
Wow.
But then I bought the only one, and it was out. But anyway,
but
it came with the free audiobook.
Oh,
so
wow. Quite a find.
Yeah, so I haven't read it yet, but I played this part. Anyway, and this was interesting to me. It's quite a story. So here it is. This is from Trucking Through Time 2, the story of Captain Troy and the card game in the barracks that he doesn't want to tell them about.
Catchy.
Your lordship!
You're here. Let us begin, Glomborg, or shall I say, Private Williams the Bugler. Assemble the XT-4100 communications units, which our science officer has disguised as their Earth playing card.
Oh, and the plasma wafers to power it?
The betting chips? Yes, those as well.
Sure is great being Captain Troy.
It's that foolish captain.
Assume your Earth forms.
Coming through, boys, but I don't see nothing. Good bugling tonight, Private Williams.
Thank ye kindly, Captain.
Private Williams, is that a tentacle coming out of your coat sleeve?
He's on to us.
What hellish creatures are you?
His primitive Earth heart has failed.
His death would cast suspicion on us. We must revive him.
Well, they are crude pumps. I will replace it with our superior ion-powered Q13 units used on our lowest level discount androids. Done.
What happened?
It seems, Captain, that you have stumbled on our secret, that we are a reconnaissance unit from the planet Krablark 12, preparing to destroy your planet and convert it to a landing post for invasions of other, better planets.
Can it be?
Silence! If you utter a word about it to anyone, we shall blow up your heart instantly and destroy this entire camp. You will never see your precious Christina again.
I won't say a word, I promise, not even to the Easterners.
Especially not them. Miss Marie is a disguise for the emperor of our bitterest enemies.
Oh, and your god? He's not real either. He's the kind of kite we give to our least intelligent children.
Yeah, I kind of suspected that. So, see?
Very different, yeah. That is a
It
whole
quite
other
a story.
story.
He was not lying. I can't wait to read the rest of it, and maybe we should put it on the
OCR it
schedule
and
for another
PDF. I'm sure people would want to hear it. I mean,
yeah. So it sounds exciting. I'm glad
very
that stuff. Crazy.
Yeah,
okay, so then the escape comes. So let's get into it.
He said he adds in, you shouldn't have a problem getting through the gate because the sentries will be on the catwalk and can't see the gate directly below. He has outlined like 4 different things they can exploit that hopefully none of their enemies ever find out either. And they are getting ready to as they're leaving, Dale notices Chad seems kind of reluctant, and he says, "Oh, I know, buddy. Lightfeather is at the village. You don't have me fooled one bit. You just like being with her. Hell, I may never get you back in the truck if we're ever lucky enough to find it again." And I read that, and I was like, "Oh, right, that whole thing. Like, what is the plan for finding it with 50 pages left in the book? Like, we're just going to sort of wander, like, hither and yon until we've evidently impressed the Great Spirit enough that we're just transported. Like, that's sort of what they're doing, I think."
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was hilarious that the insane plan that goes on and on. I'm all for it, partner. It's just
right.
That's all he has to say about it. I have a little thing about, here's a question. He says, "We are gathering information that may help our cause to educate the backward and heathenish people, be they Indian or white."
Oh.
Heathenish people? Is that a thing?
Who are the real heathenish people is, I think, what he's getting at there.
Exactly. So then the actual escape happens, and this is where I lost it on Charles E. And you're going to have to help me talk.
Okay.
You're going to have to talk me through this.
Sure.
Oh, wait. I have one thing before that. Sorry. I'm jumping
Yes.
back. People,
Okay.
Stay with me.
Sounds good.
It's just funny. This is another typo that it just made me laugh because he was so on. He says, "There are many, many obstacles confronting each movement. This land is rich with many, many resources and would be desirable to any country in the world that knew its potential." So far, all the its are right.
Okay.
Let's just say for now that it needs to be protected and preserved so it can realize its full potential and leave it at that.
Oh, my God.
And on his last its, he puts he puts the punctuation in it and blows it all and makes it possessive. So there was like 7 in a row.
That's amazing.
And they were all correct.
The one word that, could apply to anybody.
I know, and I don't mean to pick on it. It's just funny that such a string of it. But anyway, here's the
Well, we get a
escape.
lot more of that coming up as they escape, because escape is very difficult to follow without, again, diagrams and schematics.
It is so intensely frustrating. So how do you see the escape going as you read it? Because I literally, I gave up trying to figure this out.
Well, I mean, they're getting ready to leave, and they looked and saw that no one else seemed to be moving about, and everything seemed to be moving along just fine, to, again, use a word multiple times in one sentence. But they essentially, get out, and then they, look over their shoulder, and the fort is behind them. But then it says they had taken only a few steps, and suddenly they heard a noise. It was two Indians from the village with war paint. So, the watchmen have allowed these two to flee the fort out of a secret entrance, and evidently there was a whole Indian raiding party along with Lightfeather and Dancing Leaf that was also within a few steps of the fort the entire time without them noticing.
So yeah, you forgot to mention they fake bind the captain.
Oh yes, I did forget to mention that. Yeah, at his suggestion. Yes,
he's so taken by their karate and the fact that they are secret government spies who were flown to China that he's like, "Oh, you know what you should do? You tie me up, and then when they come and find me, I'll be like, no, those guys are so good, they tie me up because they know karate."
Yeah, I could tell the general, "You've overpowered me. I've been a bad captain. Make sure it's extra tight. I don't want to."
And then as soon as they get out, they ran along the west side of the fort before darting into the open. Not far outside of the fort, they stopped to get their breath. "Secret agents," Dale laughed. "What now, James Bond?" So that's what James Bond did, was he escaped from Indian forts.
Sure.
Or from soldier forts. But anyway, so then the two people arrive with war paint.
Yes.
Now this is where my frustration begins. They couldn't identify them from the markings on their faces. But they knew they were not after them as soon as Dancing Leaf was beside them. She told them she knew they had been captured.
Oh, my God.
And that the chief had sent half his warriors to rescue them. They were only waiting for the sun to come up to attack. Chad explained, thank you, for God's sake. Chad explained that they had to go to Green River and send the information they gathered on the general to Washington, and they needed horses to make better time.
That is madness. That is so many. Did you count them? Is there 15 days in there? That is
the book. The book was hurled at that point.
Yeah, that is like a puzzle in a foreign language class where you're told to make it more readable by putting in pronouns or something.
At a certain point, it's like the Sally is 4 inches shorter than Dale, but Dale is 5 inches taller than Pete. Pete, who one of those
LSAT logic puzzle.
Damn it!
Good Lord!
And then it continues. Dale jumped onto the horse with Dancing Leaf, and Chad got on the horse with Light Feather. So, but before that, they said after they parted ways. So tell him. This continues the madness. Tell him we will be back at the village before daybreak and for the chief to prepare for an attack. When they find out we are gone, the general will surely send someone back to the village to take us back, Dale told her. After they parted ways, Dancing Leaf said the chief had already prepared the village for war. So this is them parting ways, I assume, with Dancing Leaf and what's her name?
Sure.
But then they jump on they're on the same horse.
I think they meant the two men who were with Warpaint. I mean, that has to be who departs. I don't know.
There weren't two men.
There was two Indians from the village with Warpaint.
But that's Dancing Leaf and...
Oh, they're disguised as warriors?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But look, who's parting ways with whom?
They.
Anyway, it is infuriating at this. And this is supposed to be the action scene.
Sure.
And I'm reading it and rereading it going, I don't understand. And then suddenly he's hugging, Twisting Leaf or whatever. And what is happening?
If that is what you say and that they were sort of dressed up as warriors to sneak nearer to the thing, that is one of the worst things I've ever read because nothing makes that clear.
Then the confusion continues.
It makes me want to never use the word they again for fear that I'm going to be misconstrued.
Right. So let's see. Soon, all right. It continues. Soon they were close enough to see the lights from town. They chose a spot near the first row of houses to dismount and told the maidens to wait there. That they would be back as quickly as possible. Dale had to separate Chad and Light Feather so they could get started.
That's amazing.
Damn so it just boy.
It's just whoever whoever is in his mind as being the focus of the scene is getting the theys, but it happens to change multiple times throughout a sentence.
Yep, and it continues on. Music and laughter came from inside the saloon, and no one paid particular attention as they walked past to the boarding house. When they entered the boarding house, a lady at the front greeted them with a curious smile. They told her they had come to give a message. And so then they're trying to get... So it's Mrs. Owens at the boarding house, and she says, I must take them to wake Mr. Long to send a wire for the captain.
Uh-huh.
So then they do, but then it's Mr. McNally.
Oh, wow.
You wait here, and I'll go in and wake Mr. McNally.
Mr. Long requires all communications to go through Mr. McNally. Maybe it's his press agent.
If anyone can sketch this out and do a Billy, in the... family circus of what in the name of hell is happening and label the characters, I would be extremely grateful. My head exploded at this.
That is really incredible. And that's all probably within a page that all that happens.
Yes, this is the big moment. So there's a Mr. Long and a Mr. McNally who both send telegraphs and both get woken up.
Characters that we are not going to see again after this page has been turned either. Wow, that's spectacular. Well, I'm sorry you went through the effort to parse that because I sort of just read it and was like, nope, not going to figure that out.
I'm done.
Fortunately, there's some respite for you because we finally get to meet Captain Troy's wife, Christina. She's the captain's wife. She soon returned with a very distinguished-looking lady with a beautiful smile and shapely figure. So yeah, they got off to a weird start with distinguished looking because if you had asked me, I would have not thought this is going in a good direction. She's got that careworn 1800s face, but then it turns out she's beautiful and shapely, so not bad.
But is she as good in bed as she looks to be? I guess we'll find out from Troy later, huh?
Quick buckskin inspection for any...
Troy spared no detail as he talked about every encounter he'd ever had with his shapely wife.
But then they start to explain the information to, was it... What was the guy's? O'Brien or Larry? What was the one of the two guys who is in charge of the wires? Whichever one, I guess he decided.
Do you mean Mr. Long or Mr. McNally?
It's one of the two. They say, "Sir, this wire we're sending is of the greatest importance and is to be considered privileged information. It is for the War Department and the War Department only. You are to relate its contents to no one. It is a matter of your safety as well as the safety of the citizens of the entire area. Do you understand?" Dale said as Chad looked out the window to see if they had been followed. So Chad's right on top of it. He's they're finally like delivering the message they've come here to do, and he is like, better make sure we weren't followed. So if there had been someone following them, would Chad have said like, abort the mission right now?
I guess
they're coming for you, Mr. Long.
But then this is a great moment. I think this is either the woman who wakes up Mr. McNally and Mr. Long, and one of them sends a message. "Please take this coin and do not look at it until we are gone. It is a surprise token you and your husband will have to remember us by. That is no problem. It will only cost a few cents. I do thank you for the gold coin, though. I told you not to look at it. You son of a... Right. You've looked at it right in front of me. I'm still here. Right. You could have waited until I turned around."
Yeah, and it's they put a lot of they've talked about how they're influencing history, but then they're just leaving mementos and signs that they are clearly time travelers with random people that they just met.
They are going out of their way to crush butterflies wherever they can. But so Christina, when we meet her, as you pointed out, she's shapely, but she says, or they say about her, Christina dropped her head and gave an embarrassing smile as her cheeks showed bright red with a compliment. Christina, don't smile like that. Ugh, God, it's so embarrassing when you do that.
Her tongue is lolling out of her mouth like an English bulldog. Like
she's pulling at both sides of her lips. Ugh, that's embarrassing in company.
But it wasn't too embarrassing because when they leave, he says, "I'll tell the captain he was right about you, madam," Chad said. "You are as graceful and pretty as he said you were. He's a very lucky man." They each put on their hats and tipped them as they headed for the door. And I read that and I was like, oh, right. They are now wearing cowboy hats everywhere they go because they got them from the cowboy hat supply room at the Sioux Nation.
Right. So, which, he was worried about being followed. It's like, I saw two guys with cowboy hats go and wake up Troy. Oh, well, that's normal course of action.
Yes. They blend in so well now.
Yeah. They're flashing gold coins everywhere, but I don't see a problem with that either.
Right. So, Chad asked Dale what kind of coin he had given to Christina, and Dale laughed. He had given her the new 2000 gold dollar with the picture of the Indian Sacagawea and the papoose. And Chad laughs. "Surely not, partner. That will give them something to think about. What a dirty trick, huh?" Which is, I'm going to get that going just anytime someone tells me something they did. Just... what a dirty trick. What? There was nothing dirty or tricky about that. It was sort of weird, but...
By the way, I believe this is Charles flattering himself again. When they got outside, Dale said to Chad, "Damn it, boy, you sure have a way with the women. Charming, I must say." So he really thinks he's something.
Yeah, flipping him gold coins.
He had a normal conversation with a married woman. "You sure got away." She didn't spit on me.
Right. She was creaming her buckskins at the side of your cowboy hat. So once they do that, I believe they go back to the Sioux camp, and they're going to show the chief their telegram that they sent to sort of get him up to speed with what's going on.
I was infuriated by this point, yes.
Yeah.
It maddened me. It took the best part of the night to return to the village, but they were both happy to be back. As they rode into camp, they heard horses behind them and saw riders all with war paint. "Do not worry, they have been with us all night. They were with us when you went to send your wire and followed us back to the village for your safety, Dancing Leaf said. Where is she? Where are they?
Well, they left them outside the city, I guess, so they kept tabs. They just were
but they
waiting.
never returned to them, and they
True.
all of a sudden they just rode back to the village. Like, wait, you told them to wait there, right? Well, during that whole, they said that they should go in and they should wait there,
Right,
and
yep.
that was, I assume, supposed to mean that they were telling Chad and Dale, that is, were telling Dancing Leaf and Happy Pants to stay in a location just outside of town.
Right.
But then they just rode past him to the village, and then all of a sudden these warriors circle them, and then she's with them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, they've been here the whole time. That would have been nice. I wouldn't have had to look out the window embarrassingly late in the game if I knew you had watchmen out there, like, keeping tabs on us.
And they were probably laughing at them going, you guys didn't even need the hats, you idiots. It's like a full army accompanying you to send a stupid telegram that no one gives a shit about.
Right, yeah. It's not even going to get to the president for another 40 years because that's when he is president. He might not even be born by this point in time. And then if you add 20 years onto James A. Garfield's 0 years, that will bring us to the current date.
So, yeah, it's an awesome action scene that ends with it just like, smash cut, as they say, to the telegram itself.
Oh, my God. Which, if
the
you think
all caps telegram.
Yeah, if you think that this book is hard to read when it's written in, Times New Manifesto, it is even harder when it is all caps with the occasional lowercase stop thrown in between them.
I didn't even... I don't know what to say about this
Yeah,
one.
I'll just read some excerpts from it. But yeah, so it does sound like they're trying to do a insensitive impression of Indians from like a John Wayne Hollywood movie. Our leader in charge of Fort Bridger in the Wyoming Territory. Stop. Concerning his activities. Stop. None are by official record true. The general is to attack village of peaceful Indian soon. If wire is surprise. Stop. It is good. You know truth. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess it could be like that press agent we heard trying to save money on their telegrams by taking out unnecessary clauses and modifiers, but it really does not improve the readability.
And the next thing that you just read, if Sioux are attacked and killed, stop. Why is that a stop?
Right.
America will have to confront all the world. Stop. America will be forever embarrassed. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out that as a whole, America got over that kind of quickly. But yeah, it is
God forbid America should ever do anything embarrassing.
Right. Yeah, they moved on to the next one pretty soon after that. But yeah, I guess he's using these flowery telegram terms to just try to emphasize how bad this is going to be. But it might have served him better to just actually lay on the line in a bit more detail what is happening and save out a few stops. Like they're just putting in stops like you would put in if you were, did not want to do any research about how telegrams worked and based it entirely on what you've read from the movies.
I mean, it's the same thing of the getting panicking and putting quotation marks around something. He just stop. It just sounds like the rhythm that you've heard, but stop just means that they didn't have period, right? It's just that's the stop of the sentence, but he's putting stops.
And this
They're
is a printed
willy-nilly.
It's a printed record of it, so I don't even know if those have stops in them. That might have like a line break type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the chief has to be like, "What am I even looking at? Like printed words? Like this is magical as it is." And now you're introducing stop everywhere. Like, is stop your new they?
Yeah, and he doesn't actually say who translates it. They show the chief that. So the chief is just like looking at a telegram going, yeah. Okay, but Chad and Dale are like nodding their heads happily, like this is what we sent to the War Department. They're
wait till he gets to that America will be forever embarrassed part. He's gonna love that part.
The chief like sheepishly holds up a fried penis. Is this what you're?
If you want me to eat it, I guess I'll fine. I'm just gonna. I got to do this to get out of admitting I can't read if it's what happens. But then, they sort of the chapter ends a little less flowery, a little less Grand Funk Railroad quoting than last time. He says, well, if the chief feels safer placing lookouts, then he should, but I think the immediate danger is over, and we should go on about business as usual, Chad said, and began to chuckle as he thought about what they had to do to escape. I don't know what they have to do to escape. It hasn't been laid out. He told the chief about tying the captain up and sneaking out of the fort under the sentry's nose, and they all got a laugh about it.
So it's the end of a 70s cop show. Where,
yes.
Well, at least finally Captain Miller over there is losing a little weight.
Freeze frame. Yeah, except that it's on the tail of, the Sioux are going to be massacred, and America will have to confront the world and be forever embarrassed about its racist history. But then they get, and we tied that captain up pretty good too, didn't we? Dun, 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 dun.
Chief is pointing to because he's never seen, obviously, the word Sioux printed in English. He's pointing at that. Massacred. Now, who's this person here? The Sioux. Who is that?
Right.
Oh, that's you. Like,
that's how you write this. No one's ever going to pronounce that correct.
Oh, my God.
Come on.
Little quiz for you. Right before that, this is a Chad and Dale exchange. Guess the reaction.
Okay.
There will be a hold put on his plans. That is for sure, Dale told him. Chad's response, please.
Dale, I'm fed up with you asking me for details about this, and I regret telling you all this, and I've just been stewing over this for
I
all night
agree with Big Bear, Chad said.
Sure. Next guess. That was my next guess.
Man, wow. It is our North Star. It is our lodestar, our Polaris.
Yeah,
that they agree with each other at all times.
Find something to ground it. It makes them relatable, I suppose. Well, that takes us through the end of chapter 16. That was a long one, but we do only have 50 pages left in the book, so they've got to get to the truck. They've got to prevent the massacre. They've got to reunite with their long-lost son, I suppose.
We have to read what they say when they go and meet their son, and when we see him, he should go meet them if she is there with him, and also they are there if he is there.
Exactly. So it's perfect. Yeah. I have a mental picture in my mind.
Really paints a picture.
It's just me blinking is my mental picture, in a room with nothing in it and no windows, and I'm just sitting there blinking.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, that means that it's time to read some dumb sentences.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period.
All right, this first one, well, we covered this one quite a bit, but let's just say it one more time. Con submitted. She almost creams in her buckskins when you are close to her. Woo! Con, like many,
how many submissions of that.
Yeah, I think we sort of had to rush people to do it since we were decided to record this before our show. But I think that would have been clearly that was a standout to everybody. But Con is a Patreon supporter, just like many of the other people who submit these or submit fanfic. And Patreon is a lot of fun. So if you want to support that, it's just a few dollars a month. Patreon.com/372 pages. We're running a meme contest now, so you can get over there and submit your finest memes. There might be some good they memes where that's the only not directed you in that direction, but if you want to do it, that could be fun. Next we have Marie, who submitted the sentence, they each had pity for him because they knew suffering was not the answer, only their solution.
Good.
Yeah,
all right,
that's one of their makes you think type of things. This one is from Justin. The boarding house was easily found because it was beside the saloon where most of the activity was found. So you've got another patented thing, using the same word twice in one sentence to apply to two different things. So it's always fun. This one it might be traumatic already, but I'm going to read it again. This one's from Brad. They couldn't identify them from the markings on their face, but they soon knew that they were not after them as soon as Dancing Leaf was beside them. So he underlined every time that popped up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 in
all
one
right,
sentence.
Good. So it was maddening everyone else, too. I'm glad I'm not just a petty man. I mean, I am a petty, but I'm glad I'm not just a petty man.
Right, in this rare outlier, not the case at all. Next is from Harris. They need to know the general is pushing for no reason, except for vindictive reasons and probably a show of power. So no reasons except for these two very valid reasons he puts forth.
Yeah, I had that as one.
Nice. This is from Tom. Surprisingly enough, Red Coyote brought several hats for them to try on. So I almost read this when you said this, but he said, "Cue Walking on Sunshine."
Oh wow!
Well, Chad and Dale have a playful montage, so I guess that's
Holy cow.
that's the go-to for anyone trying on some hats. So well done, Tom. The two of them giggling and laughing while Red Coyote brings out hat after hat from the stockroom, each hat sillier than the last, Dancing Leaf and Light Feather shaking their heads in unison after each one.
Wow, spot on.
He got fleshed out the montage. Last dumb sentence from listeners from Janelle. The two laughed and talked for hours about their time with the Indians and their relationship to the different characters and personalities at the village. Oh, those characters, those personalities.
Yeah, when I last year I flew with some other Riff Tracks people. We went to Cardiff, Wales, and when I got back, my wife said, what was it like? Like, tell me, like, what is it? Oh, I laugh about the different characters and personalities I met in Wales.
Right. That's when Bridget realizes you two have been replaced by an alien who is trying to imitate a human, and yes. You could provide no specific detail other than that.
Yes.
Let's see what I have. I have one we did not cover yet. This was one, sort of a low blow here, but my dumb sentence of the week was, "We are willingly to help solve a delicate situation and prove our integrity and prove our integrity and loyalty, sir. We are willingly to help solve a delicate situation."
Yeah, I was petty enough to have that as well.
Oh, nice.
But I do have another one.
Okay.
I don't think this came up. Sometimes I have done something where I read a dumb sentence that has already been read because I'm reading something else. So don't laugh at me if that's true. I've read a lot of dime store books, and my wife Christina keeps me abreast of new ideas the government comes up with each letter she writes. That's his knowledge of the world, and why he is convinced that they are spies is because he's read a lot of dime store books, and his wife Christina keeps her abreast of new ideas the government comes up with.
Right. She gets a little notification, "Ooh, the government just had a new idea." And dime stores, wouldn't a dime be like a vast fortune at this point in time? Like, was the dime store? I thought that was like a Andy Griffith Show era relic.
Yeah, I think that's later. So yeah, Christina's filling her in on our third son has died of the diphtheria. Let's just get to the new government ideas section of my letter now, and I'll fill you in on those.
They're proposing a 0.5% tax on all out-of-state hotel stays. So it's essentially a tax on tourism. A lot of people are in favor of it because it's not too. That's
next idea: parallel parking downtown. They've been using.
A lot of bloodshed over that proposal. Well, we do have some emails to read about this second to last chapter of Trucking Through Time. All right, so our first email is from George, who I think was fed up with some of the things we were fed up with. Could we at some point address the fact that Trucking Through Time is clearly set in the mid to late 19th century, as prior to the 1800s there was no organized federal government and U.S. Army with outposts in the West, oppressing the Indian out of greed and ignorance and whatnot. The whole vibe of the thing feels very post-Civil War, 1865 onward at least. Custer's last stand, for example, was in 1876. One of those stupid little mistakes I feel should be pointed out, lest it slowly drive me bad. Not a stupid mistake. Very irritating and very sloppy on the author's part.
Pretty much the core of the book is
what year are we?
From the very start.
Yes, there isn't even like a crappy thing in the truck that's like the odometer just set back to 1876. I wonder what that means. Like that sort of, again, hand wave it away with the first garbage thing I thought of would be better than doing math program problems to try to figure out what year it is.
Yep, should have had that Charlton Heston moment. What does this say? We're in the year 1888?
Right.
Does man still make war on man?
If either one of those characters talked like Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes, that would improve this vastly. I agree with that. But the wife of Christina sent him news. She sent him prints so they could just verify that. See, I was right, Dale. Or see, you were off by a couple years, Dale. But at least you were in the ballpark, type of thing. Anyway,
let me see these prints. Shuffling through them.
We get one from Curtis. He says, "Trucking Through Time, the movie. Am I the only one who sees it?" So he's going to recast this with not Charlton Heston, but let's just read it. Fine. In the 70s, this movie would have starred Chuck Norris and a weak or dim-witted sidekick. Many more problems would have been solved by kicking. In the 90s, it would star Farley and Spade. The hot spring scene alone would provide fodder for at least 15 minutes of bubbling water jokes. And in present day, it could be Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly comedy. Could use a 100% faithful adaptation of the dialogue and action and still work. The mountain lion and torture scenes are proof of concept. That works.
So Farley and Spade, fat guy in a cowboy hat. I assume.
Yes, yeah, or buckskin shorts, perhaps. Yeah. So I think those would work. I don't know. I think I'd probably watch the Farley and Spade one. You do have the sizable weight difference too.
Yeah. You are of the era where you would watch the Farley and Spade. I had a friend who took me to see what fat guy in a little coat was
Tommy
that
Boy.
Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
He took me to see Tommy Boy, and for about 10 minutes before the fat guy in a little coat thing, I was doing the 10,000 yard stare where I wasn't looking at the screen at all and was freezing him out. And then he turned to me right during that section and and he did like the triple take. Like, I just, who knew that it would go on to be a classic, beloved by everyone.
You were doing the thing where every time someone writes a good review of something like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, I'm like, I want to sit with this person. I want to sit and I want to observe their face to see what exactly they were enjoying. Like when they smiled like a kid, what made them enjoy this. So
yeah.
We have another email from Marie. She says, TTT made me realize why bad books can't easily have art. For example, from a skilled author, the mixed-up combination of Chad and Dale's Pollyanna attitude toward native culture and the brutal scenes enacted by those natives could be real art. But at the hands of Charles E. Harris, these conflicts of reality taunt the reader instead. They lack the necessary meaning that comes from author intent. Bad books don't make artistic statements. They just contain tormenting juxtapositions. So bad books don't make artistic statements. Might have mixed the thing where Grigner pulled out the rat's intestines, stomach, liver, spine, and it kept going like a clown hanky. So I don't know. Fairly artistic there, Marie.
Pretty artistic.
Or Ernest Cline's anti-jackanate screed. Like,
high art.
And we have one more email from Brian. It says, first, I feel like Mr. Harris bit off more than he could chew with these two chapters. You don't say, Brian. It's like the complexity of his story caught up with him. It also feels like before he at least had a bad editor, and now that person has given up. As we addressed, he is trying to catch the second half of the Tennessee Volunteers game. He says, second, Chad's age is something that has been on my mind ever since his, encounter with Lightfeather and the cringe-inducing descriptions of her as innocent. Chad and Dale, and this is exacerbated by the fact that we now know Dale has a nearing adult son. Chad and Dale both served in Vietnam, which ended in 1975. Now we know the story takes place in 2000. At the absolute minimum, he is around 42 if he served at 17 in the very last year of the war. That really puts a gross new perspective on him, having sensations he never before experienced with the innocent Sioux girl. He's using quotations there. I do not think he is using them incorrectly. So that's another thing to puzzle about.
That is, I assumed the whole time, because they said they'd been, both been over in Nam, and I was just like 50.
Yeah, definitely.
51. I don't know.
It's a puzzler, but if we're not pinning down who was president in 1838 or what age Custer was when he died at Little Bighorn, I guess we're probably not narrowing down unimportant details like how old are our two main characters.
We should have I hope that there's a sentence that comes up that's like look, Chad, you and I were in the Tet Offensive. If you subtract 20 years from that, that puts us at about 36. And problem solved.
Sure, exactly. And then the other one says, I agree with that. Well, I think that does it for us for this episode.
I think it does. And hopefully, I think have faith that the final reading will not be quite as maddening as that one was.
I don't think so. I think there's going to be a lot less confusion about who's talking and hopefully a bit more going back into time and having absurd stuff happen back in the present day, like winding up in a menu or in a park with a statue of yourself.
And hopefully Christina, Miss Marie, and Dancing Leaf all together. A lot of shapeliness in one place, if you know what I'm saying.
A lot of buckskins to wash.
Oh, God. And on that, let's just end this thing. We'll be back. This is 372 pages. We'll never get back. So long.
Goodbye.
Everybody.